In this video, you will find out why bananas are not as harmless as they may seem at first glance. Yes, they are convenient, sweet, and filling. Children love them, athletes often eat them as a snack, and many people consider them an ideal food when trying to follow a diet. However, if you are over the age of 50 and already have issues with metabolism, blood pressure, or digestion, this fruit can actually pose a serious threat. We are going to talk about 10 concerning facts that you need to be aware of. What really happens inside your body after eating a banana is probably something you have never heard before. This video is going to be incredibly informative and helpful. If you want to take control of your health like a pro, give it a like, and let's get started. Problem 1. The harm caused by storage and chemical treatment of bananas. According to statistics from the United States Department of Agriculture, more than 93% of all bananas sold in retail stores are artificially ripened using ethylene. This is because bananas are harvested while still green, when they are firm and easier to transport, and then treated with ethylene gas in storage facilities once they arrive in the country. At first glance, ethylene may seem harmless. It is a natural gas released by fruits during ripening. However, when used on an industrial scale, it is applied in concentrated form, which can alter the chemical composition of the peel and even partially penetrate the outer layers of the fruit. According to the American Institute of Agricultural Technology in Berkeley, when ethylene is used at elevated levels, more than 100 parts per million, for a period of 3 days, secondary compounds can form in the banana peel, including formaldehyde residues, which are not typically present under natural conditions. In addition, banana peels are treated with fungicides and antiseptics to prevent mold from developing during long transportation from Central American countries. A study conducted by Iowa State University found that bananas sold in retail stores often have traces of thiabendazole and imizalil, two chemicals used to prevent decay, on their peels. Moreover, an independent analysis by the Food Safe Research Laboratory in Ohio in 2023 revealed that even after rinsing the peel underwater for 10 seconds, up to 11 micrograms of these chemical residues remained on a single fruit. Here's an example from modern practice. In 2022, in Tampa, Florida, a gastroenterologist named Dr. Rachel Sanders treated a 47-year-old man who had been experiencing persistent nausea and a skin rash for several months. During a detailed consultation, it turned out that he had been eating 2 to 3 bananas daily and never washed his hands after peeling them. A blood test showed accumulation of compounds indicating exposure to pesticides. After he eliminated bananas from his diet and completed a course of absorbents, his symptoms disappeared within 10 days. To reduce the risk of exposure to harmful substances, always wash your hands thoroughly with soap after peeling a banana. Never touch the flesh of the banana with hands that have touched the peel. It is even better to use a knife or gloves. Also, choose organic bananas labeled as USDA organic. These are grown without synthetic fungicides. Whenever possible, opt for bananas that still have a slight green tint, as this helps minimize the chances of prolonged storage and repeated chemical treatments in warehouses. Problem 2. Lack of other essential nutrients. Why bananas can weaken your diet. At first glance, a banana may seem like the perfect snack. It is sweet, filling, easy to digest, and fits comfortably in your hand. In the United States, according to the National Agricultural Statistics Service, more than 5 billion bananas are consumed each year, making it the most eaten fruit in the country. Many Americans, especially those over the age of 50, choose bananas as a replacement for a full meal, whether it is breakfast, a quick bite at work, or a post-workout snack. But this is where the main problem begins. Despite their popularity, bananas are quite limited in nutritional content. One medium banana weighing around 120 grams contains approximately 1.3 grams of protein, 0.4 grams of fat, and almost no omega-3 fatty acids. In addition, bananas contain very few B vitamins, which are especially important for the nervous system, metabolism, and energy balance, such as vitamin B12, vitamin B2, riboflavin, and vitamin B6. This is supported by a report from the Tufts University Nutrition Research Center, published in 2022, which compared the macro and micronutrient profiles of popular fruits. Bananas ranked 9th out of 10 in overall nutritional value, behind even pears and kiwis. The issue becomes especially serious when bananas are used as a regular substitute for breakfast or lunch. A 2021 study by Michigan State University focusing on women over the age of 55 found that among those who ate bananas 5 to 6 times a week as their main morning meal, by the second month, 47% had a deficiency in B vitamins. 39% were lacking omega-3 fatty acids, and 33% had reduced protein levels in their blood plasma. Here is an example from modern medical practice. In 2023, Dr. John Andrews, a general practitioner in Seattle, Washington, treated a 58-year-old patient named Susan Wilkinson who had decided to follow a fruitarian diet. Her main meals consisted of apples and bananas, which she ate 3 times a day. Within 6 weeks, she began to experience symptoms such as chronic fatigue, numbness in her fingers, and insomnia. Lab tests revealed a deficiency in vitamin B12 and fatty acids, as well as a decrease in hemoglobin levels. The doctor advised her to immediately return to a balanced diet that included animal products, fish, and nuts. After 3 months, her health indicators returned to normal. If you enjoy bananas, there is no reason to give them up. However, it is extremely important not to use them as a substitute for full meals. A banana can be a great addition to breakfast. For example, alongside oatmeal made with almond milk, nuts, and chia seeds. To keep your diet balanced, make sure to include foods rich in protein, such as eggs, fish, and legumes, B vitamins, such as liver, whole grains, and spinach, and omega-3 fatty acids, such as salmon, walnuts, and flaxseed oil. Always remember, good health comes from variety, not from relying on one single, convenient fruit. Problem 3. Blood pressure issues caused by high potassium levels. At first glance, potassium seems like a heart-friendly mineral. It is added to sports drinks, prescribed for muscle cramps, and often promoted as something that helps stabilize blood pressure. However, according to statistics from the National Institutes of Health in the United States for the year 2023, more than 37% of Americans over the age of 50 already have impaired kidney function, most often in the early stages when the condition does not yet cause visible symptoms. For people in this category, potassium can turn from a helpful mineral into a dangerous trap. Bananas are one of the richest sources of potassium. A single medium banana contains about 450 milligrams of potassium. If you eat 3 to 4 bananas a day, you are getting more than 1,350 to 800 milligrams of potassium just from this fruit alone. When combined with other potassium-rich foods like potatoes, tomatoes, avocados, or green smoothies, you could easily exceed the safe intake level, especially if your kidneys are not functioning efficiently and cannot remove the excess potassium from the body. According to a 2022 study conducted by the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, patients with early-stage chronic kidney disease who consume more than 3,500 milligrams of potassium per day were 2.7 times more likely to experience blood pressure spikes, headaches, swelling, and irregular heart rhythms. In these cases, potassium gradually accumulated in the bloodstream, leading to a condition known as hyperkalemia, an electrolyte imbalance in which the muscles, including the heart, stop functioning properly. In 2021, Dr. Stephen Lincoln, a nephrologist in Phoenix, Arizona, encountered a typical case. His patient was a 64-year-old woman named Elizabeth Garcia, a retired schoolteacher. She had early-stage kidney insufficiency but was unaware of it. Wanting to eat healthier, she began including 4 bananas per day in her diet, believing they would help regulate her blood pressure. After 2 months, she began to feel weak, experienced muscle pain, and one morning woke up with swelling and irregular heartbeats. Her blood test showed a potassium level of 6.2 millimoles per liter, while the normal range is up to 5.0. She had to be urgently hospitalized and treated to reduce her potassium levels. If you are over the age of 50 or know that you have kidney issues, it is essential to check your kidney filtration rate, glomerular filtration rate, through a blood test. You should not eat bananas every day, and especially not multiple bananas a day. For most healthy adults, 1 banana 2 to 3 times per week is considered safe, unless your doctor advises otherwise. People with chronic kidney conditions are advised to monitor their total potassium intake from all food sources. This can be done using mineral content tables or diet tracking apps. And always remember, even natural foods can be harmful in excess, especially when the body is no longer functioning at full capacity. Problem 4. cramps and bloating when bananas become a digestive challenge. Each year, the number of complaints about digestive issues continues to grow in the United States, especially among older adults. According to the American Gastroenterological Association's 2023 report, about 42% of people over the age of 55 regularly experience bloating, cramps, and discomfort after eating. And surprisingly, it is not always fatty or spicy foods to blame. Often, it is something as common as ripe bananas. Why does this happen? The reason lies in the fact that bananas are rich in soluble fiber, primarily pectin, and also contain natural sugars, including fructose. One medium banana contains about 3 grams of fiber, most of which comes from pectin. In healthy individuals, pectins support gut function, help soften stool, and maintain healthy gut bacteria. But if digestion is weakened due to age, medications, or chronic inflammation, this type of fiber may not be fully absorbed. That can trigger fermentation in the intestines, causing gas formation, bloating, gurgling, and painful cramps. A 2022 study from the Department of Gastroenterology at the University of North Carolina found that 31% of older patients with ongoing digestive complaints regularly included 1 or 2 ripe bananas in their daily diet. These participants often experienced worsening symptoms within 1 hour of eating. The most difficult to tolerate were overripe bananas with dark spots, which contain higher levels of simple sugars that intensify fermentation in the gut. Here is a case from medical practice. In 2023, gastroenterologist Dr. Mark Holloway from Denver, Colorado, saw a 62-year-old patient named Richard Blake. He was dealing with constant heaviness, bloating, and abdominal cramps, especially after breakfast. After reviewing his food journal, the doctor discovered that every morning Richard had oatmeal with 2 bananas. Dr. Holloway advised him to cut out bananas for 2 weeks and replace them with berries and half an apple. Within 5 days, the symptoms were gone. Further testing confirmed that Richard had increased sensitivity to pectins and fructose, especially while taking medication for high blood pressure. If you experience heaviness, gurgling, cramps, or bloating after eating bananas, especially if you are over the age of 50, it is important to pay attention to these signs. Try reducing your banana intake to 1 every 2 to 3 days. Choose less ripe bananas, which contain lower sugar levels. Also, avoid combining bananas with other sources of fiber, such as oatmeal. Instead, pair them with easily digestible foods like plain yogurt, baked apples, or boiled rice porridge. Be sure to drink warm water between meals to support digestion. And if the issues persist, consider getting tested for fructose intolerance and have your digestive function evaluated by a gastroenterologist. Problem 5. Sudden hunger an hour later and slower metabolism from frequent banana consumption. In the United States today, more than 68% of adults over the age of 50 are dealing with issues related to excess weight or metabolic disorders. This is according to data from the National Institute on Aging published in 2023. What is especially concerning is that many people are gaining weight and experiencing appetite dysregulation, not because of fast food, but because of so-called healthy foods, like bananas, that are often eaten in the morning or as a snack. The reason lies in the glycemic profile of bananas. A ripe banana contains about 14 to 17 grams of easily digestible carbohydrates, mainly in the form of glucose, fructose, and sucrose. This means that blood sugar levels can spike within 15 to 20 minutes after eating a banana, especially if it is eaten on an empty stomach. This insulin spike leads to what is known as a hypoglycemic rebound. Within 60 to 90 minutes, blood glucose drops below normal, triggering hunger, fatigue, irritability, and an almost uncontrollable craving to eat something again. A study conducted at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health in 2022 showed that in adults with low physical activity who consumed 2 or more bananas per day, levels of leptin, the hormone that regulates appetite, began to fluctuate, leading to unconscious overeating throughout the day. Another study from Ohio State University confirmed that among people with sedentary lifestyles, frequent consumption of high glycemic index foods like bananas suppresses lipolysis, the process of breaking down fat stores, especially when these foods are eaten in the evening. Here is a case from medical practice. In 2023, dietitian and endocrinologist Dr. Susan Kelly from Austin, Texas, treated a 54-year-old man named David Martin who complained of constant daytime hunger despite trying to eat healthy. His diet included 2 bananas per day, one at breakfast and one as an afternoon snack. He believed they were helping him manage his weight. However, testing revealed insulin spikes and a slowed metabolism. After replacing the bananas with a protein-based breakfast and a snack with a low glycemic index, his hunger disappeared, and within 2 months, David lost 5.5 kilograms without following any strict diet. If you notice that eating a banana quickly leads to intense hunger, that is a signal that your blood sugar is dropping rapidly and your body lacks stabilization. The best way to eat bananas is in combination with protein or healthy fats, such as nut butter, plain yogurt, or a slice of cheese. This slows down sugar absorption and helps you feel full longer. Avoid eating bananas on an empty stomach or late in the evening, especially if you do not plan to be physically active. And if your goal is to improve metabolism and lose weight, reduce your banana consumption to 1 or 2 times per week and choose less ripe bananas, which contain lower sugar levels. Problem 6. Sudden blood sugar spikes when a banana becomes a glucose trap. In 2024, the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases released updated data showing that more than 96 million American adults are living with prediabetes, and around 37 million have already been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. This means that 1 in 3 adults in the United States has impaired glucose metabolism. People over the age of 50 are especially vulnerable as pancreatic function slows down and the body's cells become less sensitive to insulin. Against this backdrop, the banana, often seen as a safe and even healing food, can actually trigger a harmful glycemic response. A single ripe medium-sized banana contains between 14 and 17 grams of sugar, most of which comes from glucose and sucrose that are quickly absorbed into the bloodstream. If someone eats a banana on an empty stomach or by itself, their blood sugar level can spike within 15 to 30 minutes. For individuals with impaired blood sugar regulation, this can lead to a state of hyperglycemia, which may cause headaches, dry mouth, fatigue, and even blurred vision. According to a 2022 study from the Duke University School of Medicine in North Carolina, patients with borderline glucose levels between 100 and 125 milligrams per deciliter saw their blood sugar rise by an average of 24% within 1 hour after eating a banana. For 19% of participants, the level remained above the safe range even 2 hours later, especially among those who were overweight or had a sedentary lifestyle. Here is an example from medical practice. In 2023, endocrinologist Dr. Melissa Rose from Chicago consulted with a 61-year-old woman named Linda Parker, who had been diagnosed with prediabetes. Linda believed she was eating healthy. She had eliminated pastries and desserts from her diet and was snacking on 2 bananas a day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. However, her glucose monitor showed that her morning blood sugar level was over 140 milligrams per deciliter, and 2 hours after meals, it exceeded 170 milligrams. This happened because her body could not keep up with the rapid sugar intake. Once she replaced bananas with boiled buckwheat and berries, or a slice of apple with a few almonds, her blood sugar stabilized and her risk of developing diabetes decreased. If you have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, it is important not to eat bananas on their own, especially on an empty stomach. Instead, pair them with proteins or healthy fats to slow down glucose absorption. For example, you can slice a banana into plain Greek yogurt or eat it with a teaspoon of natural peanut butter. It is also advisable to choose less ripe bananas, which contain more starch and less sugar. Even better, reduce your banana consumption to once a week, especially if you have elevated blood sugar levels or are in a high-risk group. Using a glucose meter after meals can help you monitor how your body reacts to bananas. Problem 7. The risk of constipation in an unprepared digestive system. How green bananas can slow down digestion. In recent years, irregular bowel movements have become one of the most common complaints among older Americans. According to a 2023 report from the American Gastroenterological Association, more than 41% of people over the age of 55 regularly experience constipation, reduced intestinal motility, and difficulty with elimination. These issues are often made worse by medication use, lack of physical activity, dehydration, and, perhaps surprisingly, by choosing the wrong types of fruit. In an effort to adopt a healthier diet, many people begin adding green bananas to their meals, believing they are less sweet and healthier than ripe ones. However, the reality is that green or unripe bananas contain a high concentration of resistant starch, a type of carbohydrate that is not broken down in the small intestine and instead passes into the large intestine almost unchanged. In people with weakened gut microbiota or reduced intestinal motility, this starch may not be fully digested, leading to stagnation, gas buildup, and hardened stool, which can cause constipation. A study by the University of Illinois, published in 2022 in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, confirmed this. Among adults over the age of 60 who had low physical activity levels and reduced enzyme function, eating one green banana per day for 10 days led to significantly slower intestinal transit, increased bloating, and infrequent bowel movements in 37% of participants. Many reported a feeling of heaviness and incomplete evacuation, especially when water intake was insufficient. Here's a case from medical practice. Dr. Kevin Bauer, a gastroenterologist in Minneapolis, treated a 66-year-old patient named Beverly Scott. She had replaced her morning pastries with green bananas in an effort to cut down on sugar. After 3 weeks, she began to complain of infrequent bowel movements, only once every 4 to 5 days, abdominal cramps, and hard stool consistency. Tests showed no inflammation, but her intestines were showing signs of hypomotility, slowed peristalsis. Once she stopped eating green bananas and switched to stewed apples, prunes, and warm water with lemon in the mornings, her bowel movements returned to normal within 5 days, without the need for medication. If you are prone to constipation, especially if you are over the age of 50, you should avoid eating green bananas regularly. It is better to choose fully ripe bananas, yellow with brown speckles. These contain less resistant starch and more natural sugars, which are easier on the digestive system. It is also important to pair bananas with other foods rich in soluble fiber, such as oat bran or soaked flax seeds. Always maintain proper hydration, at least 1.5 liters of clean water per day, and incorporate light physical activity, especially walking after meals. And remember, a banana is not a cure-all, but just one part of your diet that should be adjusted to match your digestive needs. Problem 8. Disruption of magnesium and calcium balance when bananas interfere with mineral metabolism. In recent years, there has been a sharp increase in the number of older Americans seeking medical help for cramps, anxiety, insomnia, and muscle spasms. According to a 2023 report from the University of Pennsylvania, more than 58% of adults over the age of 60 take mineral supplements, most commonly calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D. However, only 13% of them pay attention to the ratio and interaction of these minerals with their diet. At first glance, a banana seems like a harmless fruit with all natural content, but in reality, it contains nearly 3 times more magnesium than calcium. One medium banana provides about 32 milligrams of magnesium and only 8 to 10 milligrams of calcium. Occasional consumption does not pose a problem. But if someone eats 2 or 3 bananas daily while also taking calcium or magnesium supplements, this natural balance can be disrupted, especially in people with slower metabolism or those taking diuretics. A study conducted by Iowa State University in 2022 found that 6% of patients over the age of 65 who regularly consumed magnesium-rich foods, including bananas, while also taking calcium supplements, developed a functional imbalance. This manifested as leg cramps, sleep disturbances, increased heart rate, and nighttime anxiety. In some cases, bone density decreased due to magnesium and calcium competing for absorption. Here's a case from medical practice. In 2023, neurologist Dr. Lauren Brady from Richmond, Virginia, treated a 72-year-old woman named Carol Weaver. She was experiencing nighttime leg cramps, numbness in her fingers, and restless sleep. Carol had been taking calcium supplements prescribed by her rheumatologist and eating 2 bananas a day, believing they were good for her heart. Blood tests showed elevated magnesium levels in her serum and reduced calcium absorption. After adjusting her diet by reducing banana intake and reevaluating her supplement dosages, her symptoms disappeared within 2 weeks. If you regularly take calcium, magnesium, or vitamin D supplements, it is essential to coordinate your intake with your doctor, especially if you frequently include bananas in your diet. It is best not to eat bananas every day. Instead, limit yourself to 1 banana 2 to 3 times per week, especially if you are already getting magnesium from other sources such as nuts, whole grains, or leafy green vegetables. It is also important to test your blood levels of magnesium and calcium every 6 months if you are over the age of 60. And never combine bananas with mineral supplements on an empty stomach. This can cause absorption fluctuations and lead to functional imbalance. Problem 9. Increased acidity with gastritis when a gentle banana triggers heartburn. Contrary to the common belief that bananas soothe the stomach and protect the lining, real-life experience shows that for a significant number of people with gastritis, this fruit can have the opposite effect. It may increase stomach acidity, trigger heartburn, and cause a burning sensation in the chest. According to statistics from Vanderbilt University School of Medicine in Tennessee, published in 2023, up to 39% of patients over the age of 50 with chronic gastritis reported worsened symptoms after eating ripe bananas on an empty stomach. What is especially noteworthy is that most of them initially believed bananas were a safe food choice for stomach issues. The reason lies in the fruit's chemical composition. As bananas ripen, their levels of organic acids, including malic acid, increase, along with their sugar content, both of which stimulate gastric juice secretion. For someone with a healthy digestive system, this is not a problem. But for people with hyperacid gastritis, where stomach acid production is already elevated, eating a banana can irritate the lining and cause heaviness and a burning sensation, especially when consumed on an empty stomach. This was confirmed by a clinical protocol carried out in 2022 at the Gastroenterology Center of Michigan State University. In the study, a group of 48 patients with chronic gastritis were given one ripe banana to eat on an empty stomach. Within 20 to 40 minutes, 58% of participants showed increased levels of stomach acid and reported heartburn and burning discomfort. The symptoms were especially severe in those with a history of ulcers or gastroesophageal reflux disease. Here is a case from medical practice. In 2023, gastroenterologist Dr. Sarah Lee from Portland, Oregon, treated a 59-year-old man named Thomas Shelby. He had decided to replace his morning sandwiches with a healthier option: 2 bananas on an empty stomach, believing this would help his digestion. After 3 weeks, he began experiencing persistent heartburn, belching, and nighttime pain in the upper abdomen. Once bananas were removed from his diet and replaced with oatmeal and warm almond milk, his symptoms completely disappeared. Endoscopy revealed irritation of the stomach lining, a clear sign of aggravated gastritis. If you have been diagnosed with gastritis, especially with high stomach acidity or reflux, you should avoid eating bananas on an empty stomach. Instead, include them as part of a balanced breakfast that contains complex carbohydrates and protein. For example, oatmeal, baked apple, or a small amount of nuts. Avoid overly ripe bananas with brown spots, as they contain higher levels of sugar and organic acids. Pay close attention to how your body reacts. If eating bananas causes heartburn or heaviness, consider eliminating them or replacing them with fruits that are more neutral for the stomach, such as baked green apple. Problem 10. Tooth enamel erosion and skin issues. How bananas affect appearance after the age of 40. According to data from the American Dental Association published in 2023, around 74% of people over the age of 60 experience erosion of tooth enamel, sensitivity to hot and cold, and increased wear of their teeth. Meanwhile, the National Rosacea Society reports that over 29% of women over the age of 40 deal with symptoms of rosacea, visible blood vessels, and facial redness, especially on the cheeks and nose. Surprisingly, in both cases, bananas, despite their reputation as a gentle food, can play a negative role. Let's start with dental health. Bananas contain natural fruit acids, including malic acid and oxalic acid, along with approximately 14 to 17 grams of sugar per fruit. These substances remain on the surface of the teeth after eating and react with minerals in the enamel, softening it and gradually causing damage. This effect is especially pronounced in people with already weakened enamel mineralization, which includes most older adults, particularly those with fillings, crowns, or age-related changes in bone density. Eating bananas regularly without rinsing the mouth afterward can accelerate the development of erosion, microcracks, and heightened tooth sensitivity. This was confirmed by an experiment conducted in 2022 by the Department of Dentistry at Indiana University. A group of 60 patients between the ages of 50 and 70 were asked to eat one banana each morning for a week without brushing their teeth immediately afterward. After just 6 days, 41% of participants showed increased sensitivity to acidic and cold foods, and microscopic scans of their enamel revealed early signs of demineralization. Now let's talk about skin. As we age, skin becomes more reactive to sugar spikes and vasodilating substances. One such compound found in ripe bananas is tyramine. It affects blood vessel tone by causing capillaries to dilate, especially in people genetically predisposed to conditions like cuperose or rosacea. Additionally, bananas have a high glycemic index, which means they can trigger a rapid insulin spike that activates inflammatory processes in the skin. This may lead to intensified redness, breakouts, and a persistent red network on the face. In 2023, dermatologist Dr. Jennifer Holmes from Los Angeles consulted with a 49-year-old woman named Elizabeth Norton who was experiencing persistent facial redness after meals. By keeping a food journal, they discovered that each morning, Elizabeth was eating 2 bananas along with green tea. When she replaced the bananas with buckwheat crisp bread and avocado, her skin improved noticeably within a week. A blood test revealed vascular reactivity to tyramine and a tendency towards skin inflammation. To protect your tooth enamel, rinse your mouth with water immediately after eating a banana and brush your teeth 30 minutes later. Do not brush your teeth right after eating a banana, as the acid softens the enamel and brushing too soon can damage it. Also, avoid eating bananas right before bedtime, especially if you will not have the chance to perform proper oral hygiene afterward. If you notice redness, visible blood vessels, or worsening rosacea after eating bananas, eliminate them from your diet for at least 2 weeks and monitor your skin's condition. Also avoid combining bananas with other vasodilating foods like chocolate, coffee, or red wine. Instead, prioritize low glycemic, tyramine-free foods in your diet, such as blueberries, cucumbers, avocado, salmon, and leafy greens. Next, I recommend checking out these videos, and don't forget to leave your likes and comments. I'm looking forward to them.